Good Monday afternoon, everybody. I hope you guys had a great weekend. My name is Manny Vitale. I'm the host of My Fight Our War, and along with Manny Vitale's Wolfpack. And beautiful Monday here. And like I said, man, hopefully this past weekend was a good one for all of you. Um, just for me, it's kind of like for the next few weeks. I really have to. It seems so easy even when you hear it. Like for me, my job for the next 4 weeks is to take it easy and recover and to do exactly what my doctor said to do and don't do anything he said not to do. Pretty simple, right? I mean, even I can't I almost said even I can't screw that up. But as I've said, when it comes to any surgery, it should be very serious, no matter what it is. But for me, dealing with not only one, but this is my third back surgery. Yeah, I take it seriously. So, but going back to what I was saying, so if someone were to lay out okay, here's your next month. You have to go to work every day. This is going to be coming at you every hour on the hour, different changes in this, and you have to keep updated on this. And then you've got this meeting, and don't forget about the family and the personal stuff and all this madness. And then on everything else, you got to do whatever else is in store for you when you get home. Me, I have to take it easy and recover. Sounds easy, right? But for some people, it's not. Um, because I'm just my own worst enemy, man. The cabin fever, whatever you want to call it. As I've said many times, I would hate to be a doctor and have me as a patient. Now, you know what? Those of you who've seen a lot of my surgeries in the past, me and OG went through and just kind of in joking, we were talking about how many surgeries I've had. After actually naming them off and her being an RN, nurse, and writing this shit down and going over them, it started out kind of funny. And then until it wasn't funny. I've had over 40 some surgeries. And I'm not saying this and every time I say something, I feel the need to kind of counter that with an explanation because so many freaking haters out there are like, oh yeah, juicy Manny on there trying to whatever. You know what? To you guys, I say welcome to My Fight Our War, where we're gonna embrace you as part of this family too. But anyways, with a lot of things that go on, it's people judge you, and the thing is, no one forced me to start a podcast. Just like when you think about addiction, man, no one forced that drink down our throat. No one forced that. Those were decisions that we made and we live with and own it. I chose to start that. First of all, I chose to start My Fight Our War. I chose to jump on social media one day after doing what I do best most of my life, which is just talk a bunch of bullshit. And so I jumped on there and I go, I'm going to finally do something to help people. After all I've gone through, I'm going to jump on here. And so as you know the rest of the story. You started My Fight Our War. So I chose to do this. And the initial response that I was getting was very something that I did not ever expect. And it was very uncomfortable for me. You do something and people do things for different reasons. People start podcasts for different reasons. There's my cousin Tony. I love you, cousin. And I heard there was some changes in scheduling, and unfortunately, you're not going to be able to make it. But you know what? It's okay, brother. The only thing that matters is you're okay. Family's okay. We'll reschedule. We'll talk about that later, brother. But see, I jump around so freaking much, I just lose track of what the hell I was saying. But as far as starting the podcast and all that stuff, and the reasons why. And the one thing that I posts, this was after about 2 to 3 weeks, and they're like, hey Manny, I'm so and so from from the Netherlands, from New Zealand, from the Philippines, and then all over the United States, thanking me for starting my fight art war. They enjoyed the content, they enjoyed the videos, and the people's post and the support and the love. And it was like, yeah, that's why I started this. Well, then posts started coming in, that were starting to get personal towards me. It was something I'd never ever even thought of, not knowing anything about this. And it was, man, I just wanted to reach out and I wanted to personally thank you. You're amazing for what you're doing, and you're this, you're that, all these just accolades and positive comments. It and I'm not kidding, man. It made me so freaking uncomfortable when it first started coming in. It was like all of a sudden one day, like the first like 15, 20 posts were beautiful, just loving posts saying these wonderful, kind things about me. And I'm going through them, and I dropped my phone on the table, and I was like, what the hell did I do? And how you doing, Don? And it was like, no, no, no. My first response was, that's not me. That's not me. Screw that, man. I'm this crazy ass sucker riding Harleys, packing guns and knives and hurting people and getting in fights and getting shot in the face, stabbed in the face, and all. That's me. So what do? I jump on and I start posting. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for the wonderful, words, but it's not me. This is all you guys. This isn't me and I. It's we and us and all this. And here I think I'm doing the right thing by doing that. Every positive post that came in about me, I spun it. No, no, not about me. I'm not doing shit. Well, thank God that I did Brad McLeod's podcast at Sober's Cool and Dan and Donna's podcast for Hard Knocks before, I started getting all this crazy shit coming in, because we became friends, and kind of, they took me under the wing, not, knowing I had no clue what was going on. And, so they saw some of this stuff, and then I jumped down with them and I was telling them how this made me uncomfortable. And yeah, do you see what I did? And they're like, yeah, asshole, and stop it. And I was like, what the hell does that mean? They're like, you're sitting there, Pete, they said, you, Manny Vitale, Gunner, whatever the hell you want to go by, you started my fight or war. And they're like, oh, it says creator, Manny Vitale, your name, you. And you are the one that told your story of being alive, being shot, being stabbed, going through all this, your appendix burst and all this. But then the key thing was the drinking that damn near killed me. My story, which basically I was in the hospital and they said, you're going to be dead in less than 6 weeks. And I'm still here. So I told my story. And in that story, it touched a lot of people, because I told these people, I go, listen, I am not a counselor. I have no education. I'm one of you. And I'm not going to ask you to do anything on this fucking page that I wouldn't do. That's not what this is about. This is about us being a family. This is about us supporting each other, caring about each other. And then if someone starts getting, in that lull, you know what? We're going to be there, and we'll carry you along. We'll do all this shit to be family until you start getting a little too much. And then we're going to give you a smack upside the head to kick in the ass to get you going again. So it was just starting this family and everything like that. Cassie, how are you? It was Cassie is celebrating 9 years of sobriety today. I love you, Cassie. You are such a positive family member, and your post and the stuff that you do for My Fight or War and all of the other families, all of the others that you are a part of, is why I started this. And it's people like you, Kelly. How you doing, Kelly? It's why I started this, and because of people like you is why this is succeeding. And you know what? Congratulations, man. I'm so happy for you. And not only that, Cassie, thank you for celebrating your 9 years with us. So here's to Cassie. Here's to every single other person out there, whether you're celebrating day 9 or day 9, hour 9, year 9, whatever it may be, man. That's why we're here to celebrate with each other. So I am so glad that you're here with us, along with Kelly and Don and my cousin. Um, like I said, this is you guys are the reason I started all of this. And again, as you guys know, I hit go live. Sorry, my mommy's calling me on the phone right now. I can't take that. Can't take that, mom. Um, but when you guys know, because I've said it many times, I never have a script. I'm not going to sit there and talk bullshit that someone else writes or talk. When I hit live, I don't have a clue what I'm going to say. I have an idea what I'm going to go at. But for instance, today, on the title, it says update on shows. That's what this was going to be about until I started firing up the computer and I started thinking about those things that I just talked about. The post My Fighter War. I have what, like I said, blender brain. So much is going on all the time, and thoughts and ideas, and um, and I thought about what Brad said and Dan and Donna said about you know telling my story, getting it out there, and here I am trying to distance myself when I need to embrace it. And so, damn it, that's what I'm doing. And then, by the grace of God, this is taken off because of all of us as a family sharing all of our stories. And that got me thinking too. Scary freaking thing. You get me thinking. Ha! Hold on, folks. It's going to be a hell of a ride. So, as I'm getting all this ready, I started thinking about My Fighter War, and it's going to be 2 years in January. And I remember talking to Dan and Don and all that about telling my story. And they're like, you need every time I go somewhere, because now I'm going to be doing public speaking with Fan. I'm going to be branching out doing public speaking, which I never in a million years. That's the thought of me going up on a stage, the thought of me doing this live was a joke, but I'm doing it. So, doing these things, doing live shows and all that stuff is talking to people with a hell of a lot more experience in social media. And I'm not talking just like doing all of our stuff in social media and podcasts. I've been very blessed with some, with friends in social media doing local news and on the radio. I've been getting some great advice from a absolutely beautiful person inside and out, Ronnie Dahl. She is such a strong, powerful woman. She was on Channel 2 for a long time and all that. Now she's got so much going on. When I say strong, I mean it took me about 2 minutes after we met to start talking. Just the intensity that she has, and that's one thing that always drew me to her was just she didn't take no shit from anybody. So when I started this up, I may not be the smartest guy around, but I'm not a total idiot. So I'm reaching out to people like her. She was so nice. She didn't know me from Adam, man. I mean, we did. She doesn't remember this, but I remember when Dominski and Doyle were on. We met a few times at social events, but she met up with me, gave me a shit ton of great ideas, and to this day, we're still talking. So, I reach out and I talk to people to try to figure stuff out. And the one constant is you need to keep my story of why I started this alive. They go, why in the hell would anyone be interested in you to walk up to a room full of people? Hi, I'm Manny Vitale from My Fighter War, and I started this so many years ago, or whatever it may be, and here's what we do, and here's why we do it, and which all is a great story. They're like, you're missing the point. They're here. You're here because of what happened to you. And that's what has to be told at the beginning of every social media thing that I do outside of here. So again, I'm learning, and it just seemed very repetitive to just keep, all right. I go, well, shit, people heard that. And Dan and Brad and all those guys, this was a while ago. They're like, well, okay, dipshit. Well, you'll believe it or not, even someone like you will actually get a new follower every now and then who didn't hear your story. And they're like, when's the last time you updated it or that you told someone about your story? And I was like, I don't even remember. Okay, what about all these people in the last few months that joined that don't know shit about it? So I think you know where I'm going with this. So hold on tight because I'm going to talk. I'm having people on my show on Sundays to tell their stories. Tonight I'm having Brandon Chantenay on at 6 p.m. Eastern time to tell his story. You definitely want to check this out. I had his wife Nicole on a while back and her story, and she is such a strong, dynamic person, and what she's gone through, has done, continue to do now, not only for herself but helping so many people. Her husband Brandon, same thing, and you get that together as a power couple. Shit. So you don't want to miss that tonight. Me and Brandon live 6 p.m. Um, but so as far as right now, and I know there's a lot who have seen it, and hey, feel free to just turn my ass off. I wouldn't blame you if you did. And those of you didn't, as I don't ever want to lose track of my fight our war and the whole reason that this is here, why I'm here, while my fight our war is here, why all of you are here. The thought of losing that really bothered me today. I just had some weird shit going on. And like I said, I got so much crap going on in my life, just like all of you, that stuff pops up. And so here I'm ready to start updates on the show. And here we are going down this road. And so here we go. With me, just like all of our stories, they're different, but they're the same. They're different because of our upbringing. They're different from the ways what we were addicted to, the length that so that's all different. But the bottom line is the recovery, the trials and tribulations and everything go along with it. I'm going to try to cut this down as much as I can without losing the important content. A lot of times you'll hear people talking about their upbringing, and that caused a lot of the addiction because of maybe problems in the home, domestic issues, God knows, so many things. And it can be related to family events. It can be related to personal events. And I do want to jump on real quick. I know you guys got comments coming on, and I will answer those after I get done, because a lot of times I get so freaking intense telling stuff. If I look over, start answering questions, I forget where I'm at, and it kind of loses the magnitude and the intensity of what I'm trying to get through. So I'm not being disrespectful to any of you guys. I will answer them. So I just wanted to shout that out. But for me, I came from a broken home. My dad was a freaking prick, and my mom was an angel who doesn't take shit, and she was strong enough to get us out of that situation. So, I mean, I could be like, you hear some people, well, yeah, that was tough, and didn't have this, I didn't have that, didn't, and it was everyone else's fault, and so I started drinking at 3. You know what? And I will never judge anyone for their story, for their the things that caused different issues in their life, because we haven't walked in their shoes. That being said, with my story, I had that same issue as far as growing up, and actually I lived here, with my aunts and uncles, and I was over here and over here. So right now, some people might say, "Oh, that was terrible." No, it was great, because I have the most loving family. So here, if I'm staying at my aunt and uncle's house one night or one week or whatever it was, temporarily, then I had my aunts and uncles, my cousins, and then I had this family member. So it was great growing up. And you know, I'm an 80s child, man. So back then, and when I was growing up, when I was like, 1, 2, 3 years old, 60s, 70s, growing up through those years, drinking, smoking was acceptable, man. You look at some of my cousins and family members' birthday pictures from when we're 1 years old, 2 years growing up. You see this table in these families. Well, I'm only speaking for mine, full of love and happiness and joy, and shit ton of beer bottles all over the table. Ashtrays overflowing. But that was it. That's how we celebrated. I mean, that was it. I'm not saying anything's wrong with it, but that's how things rolled. And so as I grew up, just like a lot of kids, what do? You go sneaking over to your uncle's beer Yeah, grab that sucker when he's not looking until I see you and grab it. Or you walk up and kind of a sip, just a sip, just a sip. And then as I got older, I still remember, and I'm going to be talking about my brother Jerry, who is no longer with us, and I will get into that. Trust me. Um, Me and him met in like fourth grade, fifth grade, something like that. And when I say we were brothers till the day, you know, he died, he died in my arms, and I will get to that. So me and Jerry are sitting there, and what do we do? And I'm, feel free to chime in if you agree with some of this stuff after I just told you not to. But so we would run downstairs to Dad's bar, and there's the whiskey bottles, and here we are, 12, 13, whatever. So we grab a whiskey bottle and we'd unscrew that sucker and take a big gulp of just whatever it was. Give it to Jerry. He'd take a big gulp. We sit there, we're just staring at each other crying. And we're like, are you drunk? I don't know. Are you? I don't know. Should we drink some more? I don't know. So we did. So, I mean, just stuff like that, growing up through the years. And then, of course, you get into high school. And again, back in the 80s, by the grace of God, we were not hit with the drugs that are out there now. Back then, it was mainly beer, smoking dope, and then doing lines and like shrooms or something like that, which I'm not saying it's fine, but that's what we were instead of all this fentanyl shit. Um, so, growing up, I was very blessed in sports. I loved sports, especially baseball and hockey. And I excelled in hockey. I loved it. And I played all the way up until competitively through high school level, through college level, into the juniors, where then also turns into beer leagues and stuff until my body started to give way and couldn't play no more. But that being an athlete at that level, I was moved up leagues at times. So I would be playing with guys that were 2, 3 years older than me, which was a blessing and a curse. When you're younger, the talent is getting better. So you're going through these things with these guys. Now, when I'm 15 and 16, now I'm playing with guys that are 18. So now I'm going to these parties after games as this 15-year-old guy, and now my teammates are drinking. So of course I got to drink along with them. And so that's what I got introduced to me as more of a common thing happening. And even then, man, it was just a couple beers. It's not like I was down a 6-pack a day in high school. No, this part kind of drags on. I took baby steps on my way to addiction. And afterwards, going through high school, going afterwards, 19, 20, it definitely increased more just because now it's legal. Didn't have to have fake IDs and all that shit. So of course it was more relevant in the parties and bars and stuff like that. But even then, man, it was a slow process. It was, um, you always say, well, when did you notice there was a problem? And then you would give a date. Well, as well as I do, addicts freaking lie. So if it wasn't a problem at 16, or it wasn't a problem until I turned 25 years old. Well, if you're given 25 years as a time frame, you know what? Go back about 5 years because that's probably when it really started. But so for me it was beer, and my buddies, they were smoking dope and shit. Sure, I'd try it, but the thing is, I never really liked it because here I am smoking weed, and all of a sudden I'd be like, two things. I'd either be, yeah, this is great, fall asleep at parties, or I'd laugh my ass off and eat like 4 pizzas. And so that part was kind of funny, it was cool. But so I never really got into that. Next thing you get introduced to, yeah, what's this? Just do a bump here and there. And it was like, well, okay. The next thing you know, it's like, whoo, all right, this shit's great. I can drink more. I'm more fun. I'm outgoing. And little did I know. So that was involved in my life. Again, I'm talking you going into the 20s and shit like that. I'm working. It's not like I'm being arrested for DUIs. I'm not getting in all this trouble. I'm not missing work. So there was not that of an issue yet. I spent some time with the Detroit Police Department. Very stressful. I also spent time EMT. Very stressful. So these are all things that add to that could to alcohol, drugs, stuff like that. But there's help for people in anyone. My Fighter War. All these other places. The help's out there. You got to reach out for it. So when you're a first responder, it's everywhere. But then again, you're this tough cop. You're this tough EMT. So you don't want anyone to know about that shit. So you meet your buddies at the bar and you get shit faced as you're telling them about there might be a problem about being shit faced. A lot of other things in my life started to happen. The drinking increased. My intensity definitely increased. My temper increased. I've always loved the high intensity adrenaline rush life. Loved it. Still love it. The that saying, see this line, don't cross it. Well, as I was walking over that line, I was like, I walked right past that line. And that's how I spent a lot of my years from mid 20s on. And I never slowed down. And, the Harley lifestyle, riding bikes, going fast, being loud. I literally went from being a Detroit police officer to a Detroit highwayman. For those of you who know the motorcycle world, there's a lot of different clubs, MCs, and then there's groups and there's whatever. But, for those of you who don't know about motorcycle clubs, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. And I'm not going to say things that obviously I can't talk about with the police or the highwaymen. Talk about a hell of a combo, literally going from a lawman to an outlaw, working with the feds, being chased by the feds. But for those of you who are wondering about what I'm talking about, Google Detroit Highwaymen, Google, any of these MCs, and you'll see what a 1%er club is and isn't. There's a lot of misconception out there, but it fit right into my lifestyle. It was high intensity. Rules were the rules that we chose to make or break. So for someone on the edge and someone who is right now at that point, man, you want to start getting to a point where all you got to do, I had a key to our clubhouse. All patch members have their own key, which was literally a bar. It was an open bar with, you name it. It was literally a bar, pool table, slot machines. So for someone who might have an issue has their own bar now, and when you are in certain positions in an MC, and let's say maybe you want a little extracurricular, you make that phone call, it's there within like dominoes, 30 minutes, man. So the lifestyle, my life changing, started getting a little more erratic, started to get a little more intense. And for me, started getting a lot more, I don't give a shit what you have to say, or I don't care how it affects you. I did a promo for Dan and Don on Hard Knocks, which I didn't know what a promo was. He goes, you're going to shoot a promo. When? Now. What do I say? Well, you're going to talk about, what your life is like leading into, think about a car accident that's about to happen. You can't stop watching it. And right before the accident, stop talking. And I'm just, same look. Dan, you're talking to a guy. This is my second interview. Well, he goes, talk from the heart. It was like a fucking switch got flipped. He goes, just talk about the intensity. And all of a sudden, man, he goes, my face is going to leave the camera. It's going to be just you. Next, there's this ugly face staring, and he says, go. And, not a lot of things that I can say I'm proud of in life until now, but I am proud of that freaking promo, because every word that I said, you can see the intensity in my eyes and in my voice. In that promo, man, it said, just start, what's your day like? And I get up, throw on my jeans, my leather, throw a 40 caliber on my hip, 38 in my vest, knife in my boot, to jump on my Harley to create as much chaos as I possibly can. And to me, that was normal. And it went on for a little bit. And afterwards, it stopped. And I remember just going, that totally sucked. And then all of a sudden, there's Dan's face, and he's just staring at me. I was like, it really sucked. I go, man, I'm sorry. I can do it again. And I'll never forget. That's why I have so much mad love and respect for Dan and Donna from Hard Knocks and Brad from Sober's Cool. As he looked at me, I'm sorry, I got Wonder Dog hair flying around. And he goes, Manny, man, you're a natural. And I kind of laughed, and he was serious. Coming from people with their level that they are at meant so much to me. Same as Dan or Brad from Sober School, who was actually my first one that I did a show with him. He helped guide me through that show. And after that show, I was like, this is it. This. I want to do this. I don't like, oh, be a guest on shows. No. I mean, yeah, I want to get a guest on every show I can, but I want to start my own show. I want to do this. And it was like someone lit a fire. And in the next few months, with his help, Dan's help, and Donna's help, one thing led to another. And all of a sudden I was off and running. And I'll never forget one time, every now and then you guys might see something. And I feel that I always have to explain it because some people will talk about me being, look at you all full of yourself and all that shit. Well, I've learned to use that and embrace it instead of, being pissed. Every now and then you'll see a message. It'll say like, hey, Legend, how you doing? Or, what's new, Legend? When's the next show? And I even remember, like, who is this? So I type back, like, who are they talking about? Brad from Sober School, after doing a couple shows, and then his show and Hard Knocks, and then all this other stuff, he sent me a message one time. And he just said, he goes, hey, brother. He goes, how you doing, Legend? And I kind of forgot about it. And then I remember responding saying, oh, okay, hazing the new guy. And he posted back. He goes, I'm not fucking with you, man. He goes, I've been doing this a while. He goes, I see the intensity in your eyes and all this. And he goes, because I told him, I go, how long does it take to get at a certain level? I can't remember what I exactly said. And he goes, well, something like that, it could take up to 5 years. Who knows? Depends on how much you put into it. And I just started. I go, I want to do all that in 6 months. And we both kind of laughed. I was doing it in 6 months. And he then came back with, when I called you that, I wasn't being a smart ass. He goes, I'm giving you credit because I can see what you're putting into it. And I want you to know, he goes, just like Dan and Donna said about you being a natural, for a guy who's never done a video, a guy who's never done a podcast, he goes, you're jumping out with these headsets and, just having a ball. See how off track I am now? Here I was talking about my story, what started my Fight Art War. So again, I apologize, but it's all part of this. And yeah, it's going to take me a while. And you know what? I'm not going to apologize for talking about something I love so much. And so let's back to the drinking and the family 20s, and all this stuff and all the craziness that happened in my life. Fights were daily. And I'm not talking meet you at the flagpole and you throw the first punch. No, you throw the first punch. I'll give you the best shot. I'll put my hands, And the world that I was in at this point was you didn't say shit. You just started swinging or you pulled your knife or your gun and you did what you had to do. And next thing you know, I'm in a little confrontation, we'll call it. And next thing you know, I turn around, there's a gun shoved right in my face. I won't even get into it, but so we're fighting for the gun, and this little individual pulled the trigger. So now I've got a plate under my left eye, and about less than a year later, I was at another little confrontation, and I got stabbed, same side, same eye, right down the side of my face. And even when that happened, and I was in the hospital, I remember talking to some of my guys. They're like, what's going on, man? I go, well, I know what I'm doing when I get out of here. Not, holy shit, you shot in the face, stabbed in the face, blah, blah, blah. no, like I gotta change my lifestyle. It's like, no, no, man. I know what I'm doing when I get out of here, and I know who I'm going after. That's not normal. But that was my mindset because of the drinking and the drugs snuck up on my ass to that point where I didn't care. Uh, so it continued. And now I'm drinking beer and buying a pint, buying a fifth, buying whatever. So now it's changed over from just beer to now we're throwing usually Jack or towards the end it was anything. And needless to say, it made my life a lot worse, made my family and friends' life a lot worse. Um, went through a lot of the same stories and stuff that you guys have gone through as far as the tough love from the family to the tears, to the hugs, to the push out of my life. So we've all had to deal with that one way or another. Um, so with all this going on, my friend, my brother Jerry, that I've known since we were little kids, 6, 7 years old, whatever it was, um, drank like us all, and as he got older, we got older. Things happen in our lives, and Jerry Jerry started drinking more, and I remember a friend of ours called, and he said, "Have you seen Jerry lately?" And I'm like, "It's been a bit because of our schedules." And he goes, you got to get over there. You got to talk to him." So I call him. I go, "Jerry, what's going on?" "Oh, nothing." I go, "Man, you all right? What is going on?" I go, "I'm coming over." He goes, "Oh, I really don't want to see anyone." I go, "Oh, okay." Hang up, jump on my Harley. I was there in minutes. I go walking through the back door. He's in the basement. And I remember looking at him, and his gut was huge. And not only that, I'm looking at him, and he was always in the dark. And I was like, "What?" His eyes were yellow. Remember some of these things that I'm saying right now because it's going to match up to something. And I go, "What the hell's going on, man?" And being, having EMT experience, I was like, "Boston, man, thank you for popping on." Um, being EMT, I knew, certain things, just enough to be dangerous. I'm like, "Jerry, we got to get you to the doctor." No, 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 no. So it's probably been a month since I got to see my brother. So we're sitting there talking, and I could just tell, you know, that something wasn't right. So we're talking, and I go, "Okay, well, I love you, brother." And he goes, "Well, I'm going to the doctor with my ma, on Monday or something like that." I was like, "Oh, okay." Yeah, I just had that feeling. This is my brother. So I call him one day, and he answers the phone. "Oh, what are you doing, man? Are you at the doctor?" "No, he's on vacation." So right there, I knew it. Bullshit. I go over there, and it was actually a couple days. But in those couple days, I get another call from a buddy. So you got to get over there now. I get over there, and a couple of my other buddies are there. Jerry's gut is huge. His liver was just sticking out. Um, he was yellow. And now he was talking crazy shit because of all the enzymes from his liver were going to his head. So he's talking crazier and crazier. It's like, "Listen, you got to go to the hospital." And my one buddy Jeff's like, "Tell him." And I'm like, "Tell me what?" He goes, "Tell him or I will." Jerry said, "I'm pissing blood, hemorrhaging." I'm like, "Jerry, we got to get you to the doctor now. Going to ER." "Nope, nope, nope, nope." He was cognitive enough where we couldn't force him to go. So of course we're on him, man. We're like, "Fuck you, we love you." So we tried all the tough love. We tried everything else. This is a guy we've all known our whole lives. And tears, punches almost, and then he's like, "I'll go Wednesday." The fuck, you'll be dead by Wednesday. I don't care. Again, remember these few words here. And so there's nothing we could have done at that point. We couldn't force him to go. So I said, "We're coming Wednesday, and if you say no, we are going to do something a little drastic." Man, I went over there every day till Wednesday, getting worse, getting worse. Wednesday comes around, me, my other brother Jay, and friends get there, and walk in. I'm thoroughly expecting to hear shit. Instead, he's not sitting in the chair. He's laying in his bed. And I walk up and I had to help him up and help him get dressed. And, he just wasn't Jerry. And all of a sudden he points at his pillow. And I'm like, what? And I go, what is that, man? I go, is that chocolate? Were you eating something? I turned the light on. It wasn't chocolate. It was blood. He was bleeding out of his mouth now. His ankles were this big. It took 3 of us to get him upstairs into the car. And we got him in the car, got him to ER. And we get him in there and, they process him. They get him into triage. And his blood pressure's dumping right in front of our eyes. They get him up to the ICU immediately. And Jerry, unfortunately, was having some issues with, some family issues and all that. So he told the doctors and that he wanted me to be the one that they keep informed with everything and talk to me about his care and stuff. So by this time, specialists are coming in. He's yellow. His gut's huge. He's not making sense. Docs come in, evaluate him. This nurse comes in, or I'm sorry, this doctor comes in and says, this is going on. Unfortunately, you're a very sick man. Your kidneys and your liver and stuff, they are not doing well. And she stopped and she started to actually tear up a little. And she goes, I'm going to have a specialist come in and talk to you. So she turns around and she looks at me. She goes, go outside. I go outside with her and I said, listen, I go, just bottom line. And she goes, days. And I was like, days? She goes, he's got a matter of days. There's nothing we could do for him. So here's my brother, and so I walk in and it was just me and him. And I walk in and I sit down next to his bed and he's looking at me and he goes, what'd she say? And I said, she said, you're ugly and quit hitting on her. And he started to laugh. And all of a sudden he grabbed my hand and he goes, Manny, when I get out of here, he goes, I'm never drinking again. He goes, I'm changing my life. I want to start working out with you. And I want all the things that we had. And here I am looking at him. And so, of course, my friend, everyone knew. And of course, we didn't. He didn't know. They had to do a test, and they had eventually they had put him on a vent. And I remember they said, there's a chance he might not come off. And again, they didn't tell him. They told me and us. So I walked in. I was with them up until they were about to do this test, put him on the vent. And it was just me and him. And I'm just holding his hand. And we're just kind of staring at each other. And they came in. They said, it's time. So I said, okay. I go, well, I'm not going anywhere. I'll be here when you wake up. And, they'll take that tube out. We'll be talking like crazy. And he goes, I love you. I love you, man. And turn around, walk out the door. And I stopped, as I was walking out. It was like I got tugged. So I turn around and he's just staring at me. Not saying nothing. He's just staring. And he goes, I love you, brother. I said, I love you. Those were the last words Jerry ever said. He was on a vent for, I can't remember how many days. And they basically said, it's just time. And got a call about 4 a.m. one time and said, you need to come in. We got there and he said, too much pain, but whatever we give him, it's just got to bottom out. So made the decision. That's it. So walk in there and they said, okay, you guys can come in. And they said, we got to pull the tube out. And so you might want to leave the room. So the buddies left and I'm still sitting there. I'm like, I ain't leaving. I go, yeah, EMT, brother, I'm not leaving. So they took the tube. It's no big deal, a little cough. And so then they upped his flow to his IV along with the morphine. And we all came back. They all came back in the room. We surrounded his bed. He was unconscious the whole time. And we all took turns saying our goodbyes. It was tough, you know, but we were at least we were there to do it. So that was a good thing. Um, I just remember holding his hand and uh, his carotid artery boy. I tell you what, he was a big boy. He had that artery pumping. So we kept talking, and I looked at him and says, "Okay, man, we all said our goodbyes." And then all of a sudden, the artery stopped. He was gone. You think something like that would, you know, have something influence on my mind. No. So all these things happen. My drinking actually increases. Uh, like you said, you guys know about the shooting and all the other shit. But just to get to the point here, so you guys can get on with your day. Um, Next thing you know, I'm sitting there in the living room, and a friend who was over. I remember these words now. Walked up to me, and she's like, "Your eyes are yellow." I go, "I know." She goes, "You gotta get to the doctor. You gotta get to the ER." I said, "No." She goes, "You're gonna die." I said, "I know." Sound familiar? So they left, and the next day I got up and went right to the liquor store and bought another fifth. Cracked that. Oh, can't forget this. Walked in, and the lady who I've known forever turns around and she stares at me. She goes, "Manny," she goes, "You're yellow." Not just my eyes, from head to toe. I was as yellow as a banana. And I just grabbed the bottle out of her hand and walked out, cracked that fucker open, and guzzled. I got home, and the rest is kind of a blur. And I remember something woke me up. Somehow I was able to get up back out of bed. I don't even remember what I said or if it was even something. I just remember kind of yelling because at the time I was at my parents' house trying to help take care of my dad, who then since passed from ALS, and I was still there. And my ma woke up, and so I made it back and I collapsed in my bed. She calls EMS. Those of you who know Michigan or Macomb County, they got me to Henry Ford Macomb, which was like a 2-minute ride from where I was staying. And from this on is a blur. This is all feedback from family and friends. They they rushed me through ER and they immediately loaded me back into an ambulance. And they said, "There's nothing we can do for him." They're gonna say, remember that too. Um, so I go down to Henry Ford Main in Detroit, and I was there for about 30 days or so. Well, about 15 or 10, whatever it was in ICU. Coded out a few times. They were able to get me back. And the last time, and they're like, "Listen, we don't know if we can get you back again. So what do you want?" And I was like, at this time, I'm still, I'm, I'm yellow as can be and all that, and I'm still not getting it. They're like, yeah, I'm like, "What do you mean? What do I want you to do?" "Well, if your heart stops." I'm like, "Start it." Smart ass that I was. I go, "I want you to do everything you can." And then I stopped and I said, "Unless I'm plugged into a wall," I go, "then let me go." So they actually went out and told my mom, my loved ones, my wishes. Sure as shit, bottomed out. They got me back, and I was back in my room. I was in ICU, and I woke up one morning. This doctor who was an older gentleman and a younger female who were part of the team that dealt with organs, and they were coming in constantly. But this time, he woke me up. It was just him, and I was the only one in my room. No one was there with me, and he goes, "Got to talk to you." He said, "This whole time you've been here, you have been in organ failure. Your kidneys, liver, and pancreas they've been slowly shutting down. They've been just back and forth, but on their way down." He goes, "Up until the last 24 hours, 48 hours almost." He goes, "Your kidneys, pancreas, and liver are no longer functioning. You are in complete organ failure. And unfortunately, organ failure, the only thing left is death." And he said, "Before this," he goes, "with your numbers, 6 out of 10 people don't live." Well, this guy's telling me freaking statistics and all and talking this shit. And plus, I'm not in the right frame of mind, just like my brother Jerry was back then. See the connection? And then they had me on Dilaudid because their pancreatitis was so intense. So I'm sitting there and not, I'm by myself, and this sucker comes in here and he's telling me this, and I'm still not. He said, "There's nothing we can do." Okay, you die. I get it, but I still wasn't getting it. So he leaves, and I fall asleep. No, okay, that was bullshit. That was just whatever. I wake up, and his associate, the younger female, who's just a sweetheart, wakes me up. And I remember the look in her eyes, and it reminded me of the doctor that took care of my brother Jerry. And she's looking at me, and she goes, "I know you talked to my associate." As soon as she said that, I was like, that wasn't a dream. And I just the look in her eyes, and she came over and sat down on the bed and held my hand. And she said, "I know that he talked to you." And I said, "Please, there's got to be something you can do." And she started crying more. And she said, "Man, I'm sorry. There's nothing we can do." She goes, it's not only one, but all three of your organs have just completely shut down. And it's been that way for over 24 hours. You're just, and I said, "How long do I have?" And she started crying, and she goes, "Less than 6 weeks." Well, the best way there is no best way to describe that feeling of being woken up just to be told you're going to die, go back to sleep, and then know that you've got this amount of time left. So basically, every time I closed my eyes, I didn't know if that was going to be the last time or not. So she was a sweetheart. She goes, "Do you want me to stay with you?" No, never cried, nothing. I just remember looking out the window, and there were trees out there, and I just remember staring at trees. And I remember staring at the cars and the clouds because I was trying to remember them. Because I remember thinking I could be dead tonight. I don't know. And I wanted to think, beautiful thoughts before I died. So then came the lovely part. I had to call my mom and loved ones and family to tell them I was going to die. You talk about a hell of a phone call to make. I mean, think about it. I've never been in that position until that day. But I've had people since then, when I tell this story, they're like, "Well, did you do this? Did you say that?" I'm sure if you said this, it's like, how in the fuck? What are you telling me what I should have said when the only thing I can say to that, just like people dealing with the alcohol addiction, whatever, I tell you, if you're just someone who's never had an issue, don't tell someone how they should act. I was woken up in the morning to only be told I was going to be dead. And then they came in and with hospice, and I met the hospice team, and they said, "We're going to take care of you up until your demise. Now, we're going to keep you comfortable on medication. You will not be in any pain, and you're just going to drift off to sleep." I'm having a conversation about my death. So I'm sitting there, and they leave, and all of a sudden, my family starts to come in. And I remember a friend came in, and she was there first, and I remember telling her, because at first they all thought I was nuts. They thought it was the medication. And I remember looking up and telling her, you know, and my mom and my aunt were there at this time out in the hall with the doctors, and I just said, "I'm sorry, I have to leave you." And said, "I've got less than 6 weeks to live." And again, they all thought I was nuts. Didn't believe me. My mom, dad, my mom came with my aunt, and I told them, and they're like, "No, no." The doctors that were there came in and said, "No, there's." And then I come to find out that when they told me 6 weeks, she said that to try to give me a little bit more fight. At the end of the story that's coming up here, she said that we didn't know if you were going to make it through that night. But so back to telling my loved ones goodbye. I remember being told, "No, no, it's not goodbye. It's not up to them. It's up to God." And I'm like, "Listen, you understand? I have no organs anymore." So they come in, they go, "We got to do some blood work to give to hospice to pass off the records." So they come in and do blood work, a lot of it. They give it to hospice. Then they come back later on and they start the same night and they're taking more blood. And I was like, "Something's kind of weird." The next day they come in and it's all these doctors and they're taking more blood. Long story. Well, there is no long story short. This goes on for like 7 days. Every time they came in, which was usually twice a day now at least, they were taking more blood, and it was like a freaking zoo. More doctors, more doctors, all standing around with their little pads looking at me like I was an exhibit in a zoo. And finally, on the last day, my room is full of doctors, and I'm sitting there, and in walks Dr. Death and his associate, the female doctor. And they're at the end of my bed, and Dr. Death starts grinning at me and grabs my ankle and starts to smile and starts laughing at me. Well, that didn't go over well. So I go, "You freaking evil prick. You're laughing at me and you're sending me home to die." Well, that's when his associate, that female doctor, she starts crying. She cried more than I did. She starts crying, comes over, sits down on my bed, and starts hugging me. She says, "Manny, we are sending you home, but not to die. We're sending you home to live." And she goes, "That's why we're here. That's why all these doctors are here." She goes, "Your pancreas, kidneys, and liver were non-functioning for over 24 hours. They just completely shut down. And there's no medicine to start them. There's no magic words to start them. The only thing left is death." And that's when she said to me, she goes, "When I told you 6 weeks, it was to try to give you enough fight to make it out of the hospital." She goes, "We didn't know if you'd make it through the next day." And I thought about that. I laid in that hospital for 7 days, knowing that each time I closed my eyes to drift off to sleep, that was it. So unless you've been told that don't tell me that you know how I feel. And don't tell other people dealing with situations that you know how they feel because you know someone who knows someone. So please don't. So that was a very, uh, here I am 5 years later. And you talk about ironic. Henry Ford, the hospital I was at back in 2020. Sound familiar? I was just at that hospital in April, and 2 weeks ago to have back surgery, the same hospital that I was supposed to die in. And here I am. So, I just took an hour of your time. Um, but I don't ever want to lose what's true in my heart about my fight our war. And the reasons behind my fight our war are because of the blessings that I've been given. They are to speak for the people that don't have a voice anymore. I speak for Jerry. I also speak for my little brother, Kevin Prince. I also speak for friends of mine who are no longer here that were killed in the police department, Pat Prone. Guys in the club, big homie. My brother Porky, who I actually zipped up in a bag. This is actually funny. Porky was named Porky for a good reason. He was huge and he looked like Porky the Pig. And he had a heart that was as big as him. And his whole purpose in life was to love and make people feel the love and happiness that he had. Unfortunately, he didn't make it and he died at home. We went over there, the club brothers all got together. And when they came to take him away, there were these two guys in their 80s that couldn't lift up a feather. And we're like, we got this. He was so large, we couldn't zip the bag all the way up. So it was just up past like mid-arm. So we get him on the gurney and we're wheeling him out the door and we're all crying and crying. And also we hit those little bumps going out the door, the little door jam there. Well, it was unzipped a little bit, that bag. Well, he was so large that his arm popped out and he hit me right in the balls after he was dead. I was like, oh shit. And they're like, what's the matter? I go, Porky just hit me in the nuts. And we busted out laughing our asses off. And we're like, that's Porky. Even at his demise, he made us laugh. So that's why I start my fight our war. And that's why I'm continuing to do it, because I've had a few things running through my head about how blessed I have been and why not them? Why am I here and they're not? And I come to find out it's called survivor's remorse. A lot of you know what I'm talking about. And I want to deserve and I want to earn every day that I have. And, I started to think, am I doing the right thing by, jumping all over? I want to get on this podcast. I want to do this. I want to make sure I'm doing it for the right reasons. Because, of course you get assholes on here. Just like, you're only doing that because you want followers. You're only doing that because that. But you know what? It was good because it made me take a step back and make sure that I'm still holding true to myself and why I'm doing this. And I'm doing this because, and even doing this, people were like, oh, you must have done that as soon as you got out of the hospital when you were granted the miracle of life. No, it still took my ass 3 years after getting out to finally take action and start it. But you know what? It wasn't my time, God's time. But because when he started this 3 years later, there was no stopping me because it was just took right off. So this was a good thing. Because I started to feel like, damn, am I doing the right thing by starting another podcast? Because the reason I'm starting my Manny Vitale's Wolfpack is for all the people who are still feeling lost, but they don't have addiction problems. They don't have addiction, recovery, anything that fits my Fight Our Wars platform. They don't have any of that, but they still have all these, hurtful things inside of them that they want to talk about and discuss, but they don't have platforms for them. And they've gone to other people's podcasts and it's just not quite their material. And I get it. So, I was just sitting there one day. I'm like, well, shit, I'm not inventing a wheel here. All right. My Fight Our War, the wolf pack, join our pack. You'll never be alone. Family, wolf pack, the wolf pack mentality, taking care of each other. I've always felt that. I got a big ass tattoo on my back of a wolf I've had for over 25 years. That's how true this means to me. And that's when, the Wolfpack jumped into my mind because it's kind of like the sister club or organization as my Fight Our War. We are going to take care of each other. You don't have to have a freaking diagnosis or a title. You're an alcoholic. You got mental health. You've got an eating disorder. You got PTSD. You know what? You got a lot of shit on your mind, and it's affecting your life and your loved one's life. You want somewhere to talk about it? Yeah, I started the page. Go to Manny Vitale's Wolfpack, and as I described it, it's our show. You know, I host it, but it's you, all of you who want to talk about stuff. Now is your time. You know what you want to talk about? When I say let it rip, it's open mic. And if someone tells you, oh, well, that's not important. No one wants to hear that. If you heard that, I want to hear from you. If anyone told you that, that's just like that fire inside you to reach out to me and just say, listen, man, this is what has been going on in my head. You know, this is what, if it's something that bothers you that much, or you're thinking about it this continuously, then it's important enough to put on here for all of us, because you know what? Chances are it's bothering someone else too. So, you know, I started to doubt myself. Am I doing this for the wrong reasons? Am I, spreading myself too thin? And to that, the answer is hell no. I am going to keep pushing my Fight Our War. I'm going to keep pushing Manny Vitale's Wolfpack. I'm going to keep pushing. Help, my Wonder Dog Susie's got her own page, as long as the Warrior page as well. And it's not to try to win a popularity contest. It's to try to reach as many people as possible. And not only to me, but to my fight, or to Hard Knocks, to Sober's Cool, to Blacklist Podcast, to Sassy is Sober, to Ian Bick, to High Sobriety, to Live Right, to Fan, to Care, to AA, to all of those ones that are out there to help. That's why I'm spreading myself, out there in every direction, because you know what? If you don't have something that I can help you with, you know what? There's a whole shitload of people out there that can. So, in this show, over an hour ago that I started, was supposed to be updating coming shows. That was going to be today's 10-minute topic. Hour and 7 minutes later, folks. I've told you many times, I don't have a clue what I'm going to say when I come on here. And I never will, because I talk from the heart and I talk from my soul. And, I would be nothing without all of you. And some people, people just love to fucking hate, and that's fine. You know what? But I'm going to keep pushing. And I've always said, please, if there's something that you think I should be doing more of, please message me. If there's something you feel I'm doing too much or not enough, suggestions, man, ideas, thoughts. This is our family. This is the way it's got to be treated. It's not just words. You'll see the people that are talking shit and just to get followers. You'll see right through them who they are. So, you know what? I got something that you all know, I'm Catholic, and I hold true to that faith, and I never will let go. And I will never, ever push my religion or politics on anyone, and no one else in our families will either. It's not tolerated. I don't care what your faith is or your religion is, as long as it's true to you. That's all that matters. And I just wanted to read this. This is one of the ones that I read every morning, and it's called the Birthday Prayer. And it's, today is my birthday, Lord, and I offer this day to you. You breathed life into my soul, and you chose me to live on this journey called life. You are always there with me. I feel your presence in joy and laughter, during difficult days, even sorrow. Of all the gifts I've received, I hold the gift of your love closest to my heart. Of all the friends I've known, I cherish above all your companionship. I ask only that you walk with me and guide me to follow your faithful way. Forgive me when I fail you, Lord, and help me to forgive others. Grant me strength in mind, body, and spirit. And when it is time, lead me home to the everlasting life prepared by you. Today is my birthday, Lord, and I thank you for every blessing. Pretty much sums it up. Well, um, again, man, I I definitely don't have all the answers. I got a shitload of questions, and I doing what I'm doing. I never thought I would be doing this, but it's something now that I absolutely love so much. I love being on here. I love talking to you guys and sharing our battles, and I love just expressing shit that I never thought that I would ever do. And now to be so blessed with that all I've been given with these opportunities, and obviously I must be doing something right to be, on this role that I'm on, and the opportunities that are starting to open. I must be doing something right. So to that, I just say thank you, God, and to that I say thank all of you, because if it wasn't for you guys, this wouldn't exist. So this is something that I not only will never stop doing. This is something that I want to pursue in a very much more in-depth, intense way. I want to do this and this alone. Um, so what they say, you never know who's watching. And people might say, "Oh, that was a cheap plug." Yeah, yep, it was. And the thing is, there's nothing cheap about it. If there's somebody out there that thinks, if you know someone that you feel that I would be able to be part of helping that something that they're doing to push forward my fight our war, to push forward all of the other organizations that I just said. I never ever forget the ones who have helped me, and I never will. You can ask if anyone ever says that this is all about me, they're freaking ass liars, because I include everybody that I can, and there's so many that I don't remember, constantly through every show, because I'd be nothing without them either. So you guys, I love you guys so much. And, you know, I'm glad. I really hope that you liked my show today on the updates of coming events. So, on that note, don't forget upcoming events will be me and Brandon Chantanea. Again, he is the husband of Nicole, who we all know, and she, as I said before, as intense and as incredible as she is, and the stuff that she's gone through, and the stuff that she's doing, and the people she's helping is just mind blowing. What Brandon's doing, same thing. Put them both together. You talk about a power couple, boy. So it's going to be a great show tonight. So I really hope you guys check it out. So we'll see you tonight live with Brandon at 6 p.m. Eastern time. So until then, guys, thank you for putting up with me. Thank you for listening. Thank you for all the blessings and love and happiness that I get by looking over and seeing your names. And that comes from the heart. I love you guys. Keep fighting the good fight.